自由黨國會議員布里森 Scott Brison 喺本國政壇並唔係陌生嘅名字。佢代表斯高沙省嘅選區，今年先至係42歲，已經有政黨嘅經驗達到30年咁耐。佢先後加入過保守黨同埋自由黨，喺自由黨政府裏面出任過公務部長，而家係自由黨嘅貿易政策發言人。佢亦都2次參選過2個政黨嘅黨魁。個人方面呢，佢係第一個公開自己同性戀身份嘅內閣部長。呢啲都提高咗佢喺本國政壇嘅知名度。今日我哋請到布里森親自解釋佢參與政治前後嘅心路歷程。
I know you have a very interesting background in politics. You joined the PC party at that time, and when you were 11 years old, how did that happen?
Well, I grew up in the Progressive Conservative Party. My uncle was very involved. My father was involved. My grandfather had been involved in the Progressive Conservative Party. So I grew up in that party system, and I went to my first political meeting when I was 11 years old. And the bug bit me. I was really attracted to politics very early, and was very involved as a teenager in politics in my high school, later in my university, and Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia. And about the same time, I also got involved in business at a young age, and I started my first business early on. So in my 20s, I spent mainly with business, and I got more away from politics in my 20s and focused on business in Canada and the U.S. I went to New York for 5 years and lived in New York from 91 to 96, but then returned to politics.
I was going to ask you that. You started a business in university. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, I started a business. I was paying my own way through university, and I started a business renting compact refrigerators to students. And by the time I graduated from university, we had over 1,400 refrigerators on 13 different campuses. So it became a good business. And I like business very much. And I bought some real estate as well, and I bought old houses and renovated them into apartments, and even had a car wash by the time I graduated from university. But I like business a lot, and I actually have applied the common sense one learns in business to politics sometimes and to government. And I think we need more people with some business experience in public life, in my opinion.
All your bios mention that you were the first openly gay MP and cabinet minister. When and how did you decide to come out of the closet?
Well, I had, when I was elected in 1997, I just turned 30 during my first campaign. And I had, in fact, I wasn't really in the closet, but if anybody asked me, I would tell them. But it wasn't until 2003 that I actually came out publicly. And it was because there was, some people knew, some people didn't know, and there was becoming, it was being used against me sometimes, and where people would question, you know, whether or not I was being honest or whether, and I just didn't want it out, I didn't want there to be a question around that. I have been very fortunate. I represent a rural Nova Scotian riding, the riding I grew up in, and I have the privilege of representing that riding in the House of Commons, and at the same time being open and honest about who I am. I have a wonderful partner. We live in my riding in rural Nova Scotia on the shores of the Minas Basin, and the little community I grew up in, less than 200 people. And I'm really thankful for my life. I have a wonderful life, and both in politics and personally. I am a person of faith. I'm a Christian. I very much I adore, in fact, the United Church, which is a very open and friendly and church that is accepting and understanding. And I think if one of the goals of Christianity is to try to live to a certain extent like Christ, and I think Christ was a fairly open and individual who accepted people. And I find that the United Church strives
How
to
long
accept
have you
people.
been with United Church?
Many people think it's not a real Christian church.
Yeah, well, the people who say that are people who disagree with it, and I can debate the Bible with just about anybody, and if they want to debate the Bible, and the fact is that the United Church is a faith that has a different approach to certain issues than some of the other churches, but I think the United Church has helped make Canada one of the more progressive countries in the world. I think that the United Church has had as much of an impact on Canada in many ways as the Charter of Rights, because the United Church, even before the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, was advancing some of these tough social issues and defending rights and equality. But I would, I grew up in the United Church. I taught Sunday school in the United Church when I was, I think in probably grade 8 or 9, I taught Sunday school. I was baptized in the Chevrolet United Church, and I was married in the Chevrolet United Church. My parents are are stewards of the United Church. My uncle was a United Church minister. I have several cousins who are United Church ministers, so I'm a pretty strong United Church member and very proud of that church.
Social conservative, it seems, is a dirty word today. But for many our audience, for Chinese, if you ask them, they are mostly social conservative. Why do you think social conservative? What's the evil of it? What's the bad part of it?
It's not a question of evil. It's not a question of that. What it is, the Charter of Rights that defends my freedoms defends your freedoms. It is there to defend all minorities in Canada, and that's the beauty of Canada, in that we are a multicultural mosaic with a wide range of views and religious and ethnic communities. And I represent a riding that is quite socially conservative historically. But the people know that I work hard for them and that I will defend their interests. And in the same way, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is there to defend all of us. And it's not, the Charter's not a buffet. You can't take from it the rights you like and leave the rest. But it's not a matter of, and I think that's very important, that we reach out to all Canadians.
According to many polls in Chinese community, most Chinese views on social issues could qualify them as social conservatives, such as on gay rights, gay marriages. How do you think? How do you convince them to accept more liberal views?
Well, again, the Charter of Rights that defends the Canadian right of gay and lesbian couples to marry is the same charter that is there to protect the Chinese Canadian community at points against prejudice. So it's important to recognize that the Charter is a uniquely Canadian institution that is important for the social progress of all Canadians and for the rights of all Canadians.
Your answer, it seems, only based on the Charter. But we only have the Charter 1982. Before that, Chinese was not really discriminated. That was before 1947. So there's no other explanations to convince Chinese to accept those social issues.
Well, I think that that's an important one, that it is there to, one of the things that makes Canada unique in the world is its Charter of Rights and Freedoms, where minority rights, all minority rights, are defended vigorously and consistently. And I think that's just as important to Chinese Canadian community member, or a member of the gay and lesbian population, or a member of any group within Canada, because we're all equal in Canada. And I think that that is actually a strength of our country.
A lot of Chinese